Hi everybody and welcome to Beyond Politics. Today we'll be looking at the state of financial affairs in the country yet again. Obviously this whole VAT thing in the budget speech has been a hot topic for a long time, and what it's doing is revealing the collective mentality that is within government regarding how the economy works, and it's quite a sad state of affairs.
In this article we're covering, the heading says public servants' wage bill drains 724 billion from the fiscus, but the minister argues it has declined. And we'll explain to you how he's bamboozling the public into believing that the amount of money we spend on public servants has actually gone down. And as you said many times, there needs to be a drastic change. Call it like Klaus Schwab's reset of the amount of people we have in government service. And
the public sector wage bill obviously does include teachers and nurses and all the rest,
many important people, absolutely.
Police, but still.
That's actually short, where we should actually have more people.
Yeah.
So I think there's many people in positions sitting in offices that aren't necessary.
Yes, efficiency
The
needs to be the
deadwood.
order of the day. I wonder if it's radical to say, let's halve this bill.
Yeah, I don't think it's radical. I think it's a nice target to put
So
out
this
there.
is unfortunately the mentality of all political parties. Political parties naturally want to get bigger. The bigger they get, the more people they can employ. The more people they employ, the more people they have favor with, and so on. And
People depend on them.
it's quite a nightmare, and it's the case for all political parties. And that's why when I started OHM, I did things differently. But interestingly, right at the end, let's end with the punchline here. The minister says that the main challenge is the state's dwindling revenue base, leading to less of revenue generation. Oh, gee, I wonder why. Because to have a strong, healthy, vibrant economy, you need less government interference, you need less red tape, less legislation stopping businesses from doing their thing, so that the economy can flourish, so that more people can be employed, so that government doesn't have to employ people to end poverty, because that's kind of the mentality. Let's make government bigger, let's employ more people, because then more families are fed. Rather, the government should get smaller so that the economy can do better, so that more people can be employed in the private sector. And then with regards to the school system, instead of producing workers, if we produce young adults with an entrepreneurial mindset, we'll have much better options here in the country, and we'll start to see things improving, and we'll start to see the GDP on the rise instead of stagnating year after year after year.
And the thing is, this is actually shocking that the minister actually said this. And Minister Inkosi Mzama Buthelezi, who is the Minister of Public Service and Administration, this is his mindset. His mindset is, we are the problem. The tax base is the problem. They need to get more revenue. And the dwindling tax base, I wonder whose fault that is. The dwindling tax base, people not paying tax anymore, leaving the country, etc., is to blame. Just like apartheid can be blamed forever for all the horrible things that happened back then. Like you blaming your childhood for what happens throughout the rest of your life. Now the minister is blaming us for the fact that they cannot employ enough people in the state or pay the state employees enough money. And many of you will agree, there are many places where there are shortcomings, especially when it comes to teachers. And the first thing the government threatened us with when the VAT hike stopped is education and medicine. You know, hospitals.
And not raising grants.
Not raising grants. So all of those things is what the people said, okay, then we cancel all of those things that we were going to do. So it's like we are treated like children when we should be the government. And at the end of the day, in a real democracy, the people are the government. I mean, you wag the tail. You move the head around. That's how it's supposed to work, but not in this government. So the mindset of the minister tells you how the rest of the government feels. They feel that they should grow the size of government. And I'm not talking politicians here. I'm talking about public servants. Because, as Lauren says, it empowers them. The more people you have dependent on you, the more people will support you, back you. And this is where tenderization and the mafia state and the gang party system and everything comes into play.
Yeah, so as the taxpayers, subjects, whatever, even if you're unemployed and you're getting a grant, you're still spending in the economy, so you are still a taxpayer.
They're getting 50% back
And
of the grant.
government is kind of, or the ministers are framing the taxpayers or the spenders of the country being the problem. We need more revenue, we need more people paying VAT, we need more people paying tax, but they're not providing the environment in which the economy can flourish. That is the worst thing. And honestly, this is the problem. Long time ago, I read the requirements for a non-profit organization, and I see government as a non-profit organization. One of those requirements was that in order to be effective, you need to work towards irrelevance. And technically, that's what a government should do. A government should work towards irrelevance. It will never be irrelevant just because of the size of populations and human nature combined. Government will always have a reason for being there. But if its aim is to work towards irrelevance, you'll start to see society flourish. We'll start to fix all our social ills and inequalities and all the rest. And that's what we need to happen as soon as possible. Unfortunately, I think we just have an old way of thinking in our government offices and departments, and it's not working. The average age of the parliamentarians, for instance, is 65. And yes, I understand the wisdom of people who have lived long and have hindsight, but unfortunately, the old ways are not good for this country, and we need to turn things around as soon as possible, because there's literally people suffering right now all the time. Lack of housing, lack of water and sanitation, lack of education, and more government is not going to fix it. So I would like to see the government. What was our shortfall? Do you remember? Our tax
74
shortfall?
billion.
No, what was our shortfall?
The 74
it was a 74 billion.
This is 724 billion.
So I just personal experience. I've been to a couple of public participation things, and a few other government activities, events. The food and the hotels that they use is crazy and unnecessary. I want to rather see them in a town hall. Okay, so fine, some have been in a more humble abode, and I want to see no food. Everyone can pack a lunchbox. Everyone can pack sandwiches. You don't have to have catering. I think because if you just look at one small section of the food bill and you multiply that about all the municipalities and all the areas and all the departments, it's a lot. So I think there can be a lot of government spending, but I think unfortunately for those who have worked for government, I worked for local government for a very short while. Lovely job, cushy job, wonderful job. And that's the problem. You get comfortable in it and you don't want to make yourself uncomfortable. So those that are making decisions are not going to make decisions, they're going to make the people around you uncomfortable. And unfortunately, this is the kind of George Orwellian classist system we have, where you have the people working for the state doing just fine and the rest of the subjects getting poorer and poorer and poorer to the point of no return.
I said earlier in the video that Minister Buthelezi is being dishonest and he's actually cheating the public, because DAMP Jan de Villiers rightfully asked the question about the public wage bill, and he says who is and he is the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Public Service and Administration, and he asked Buthelezi if his department is considering prioritizing the restructuring of employee benefits in an attempt to reduce the increased wage bill, which gives you the DA's mentality. Small little cuts, not big. Let's cut this down to size. Relook at everything, restart everything, because that is how bad it is. So Minister Buthelezi answers him and says it has been reducing. But he's lying, because the 724 billion has been increasing. So the amount is increasing, but the percentage of overall spending has gone down slightly. And this is where the cheating comes in. You know, when you use gymnastics like that to try and prove that it's improved, they say, he said, Minister Buthelezi, the wage bill has declined as a share of consolidated spending from 35.7% in 2013-14 to 32.1% in 2022-2023. Now, that is a decade. And over a decade, it is only dropped by 3% of consolidated spending. But the overall amount has gone up. It hasn't come down. And then he goes on this long tangent of why the spending is necessary, etc. And then in the end, the punchline, the bottom line that Lauren mentioned earlier, We are to blame. The diminishing tax base is the problem, not the public sector that is bloated, way too big, a lot of it unnecessary, the expenses that they incur with meals and accommodation, etc., is ridiculous, as you say.
I really wish, I know it's fantasy land, but I really wish the ANC would get its act together and lead this country like it could have, like in the early days, 1994 and onwards.
Make our lives a lot easier.
Wow, it would be wonderful, because all these other parties would then become irrelevant and we could actually have a country the Rainbow Nation Mandela dreamed about. But until that happens, nope, I don't know. Unfortunately, we need like
in the system, I don't think it's possible.
We need a school of politics where representatives from any party can go and just learn the basics of science, the basics of engineering, the basics of economics, and so on. Because
physics, don't exclude physics
as well.
Remember investigating the lightning.
Because they're making life-changing decisions on behalf of us, the voters, and most people don't vote in this country.
Scary.
And it's just, the system's broken, people, and it needs to be fixed. And no current party sitting in Parliament now with butts on seats, they're not your friend. They also want government to increase. They also want to. They just want their prevailing T-shirt to be the leaders. And there's no real concern for human life and the quality of human life, and that is very sad. So I think what we need more than anything is more people to become aware of the true issues and understand that politics is used to divide people, but when it comes to government decisions, everyone's in governments united for their own interests, which is usually against people. And the sooner we realize that there are things that we can do, firstly becoming informed, and secondly working together, we can change the future of this country by changing how our government is structured and changing our political system as well. That is very important. So please subscribe. Subscribe to the channel, but also go to our website beyondpolitics.co.za, and you can sign up to our mailing list and receive more information.